is a country. Waves of people came to this country, were welcomed by the folks who have lived here for millennia, the First Nation. And built this society with waves of people fleeing religious persecution, fleeing tyranny, fleeing to try and build a better life for themselves here than they had back home. Whether it's folks fleeing from world wars or fleeing from civil wars, these people always want the same thing: to be able to live in peace, to raise their families, create a better future for themselves and their communities. And that is what generations created this extraordinary diverse society we have. Now, Canada remains one of the only countries in the world where citizens are, by and large, positively inclined. And one of the reasons we are that way is because Canadians have confidence in our vision.
Yeah. Canada. Well, Trudeau says Canada seeking to recover the object downed over the Yukon. So apparently this is the one that was the shape-shifting one from the pilots reported. And this is the one that's, they're saying, is not confirmed as a balloon just yet, even though there seems to be a connection between these events. Trudeau has even suggested that there's a link between the 4 shot down objects, despite the U.S. playing down any such connection between 4 UFOs that got shot down just last weekend in the midst of this UFO report that they've had to release, and this, growing part of the Pentagon that's trying to get a lot of funding for space weapons and defense research. Now, there's a lot of science that needs to be researched, and I think that a lot of it needs to be declassified and come out, and before they can really get the funding for it, because people are misunderstanding, what the funding and the research is for. The Pentagon's going about it where they're like, oh, well, tons of people are interested in this UFO story, and they're getting, the Pentagon themselves, when when you go on to 1997 U.S. Air Force report, I just want to show you that video again, that the opening line, as soon as the press conference opened up and the Pentagon spokesperson walked to the podium and began talking, the very first thing he said to this massive media audience that had filled the room, unlike any other press conference they'd done in recent times, and this was his remark. Oh wait, I gotta share the audio. Sorry, I'm doing this on a Mac, so I gotta share the audio separate.
I only wish we'd been able to get this number of media here with us when we were trying to tell you about the importance of air power to national security recently.
So air power to national security is apparently the real issue here that they're trying to psyop us into. I think that a number of people have picked up on this and said that this was part of that. I think they're delaying the story of, confirming that this was a spy drone of some kind. And people were saying, oh, a drone flying at 40,000 feet? Haha, you can't be serious. And I just wanted to point out, there's the Lockheed D-21 Space Dart. There's the SR-75, which was the reconnaissance plane that flew on top of the SR-71. It was this a space rocket, essentially, that was designed to go up above, up to, I believe, 60,000 feet even. Why didn't they use one of these things to shoot down the spy balloon? Why were they using these other aircraft that could only reach certain heights and stuff? And a number of people were bringing these other types of, classified or declassified aircraft from the 80s and 90s up to say, like, oh, why didn't they use this? Another argument I thought was interesting was, sorry, you guys didn't see the Lockheed D-12 and the SR-75. I wasn't showing those, but yeah, the Lockheed D-21. And another thing was, though, people were asking, hey, why didn't they use lasers to shoot down this craft? And the fact is that these things have a skin coating, which is like a mirror, and it can turn also metamaterial, so that the laser could pass right through it. If it's an alien spacecraft, what we've learned about it from reading the reports and stuff is that these optical quantum computers on the surface of the craft, which they're actually, if you shine a laser at it and try to shoot it down with a laser, what happened is the laser could either go through it, or the mirror could turn phase conjugate, which means no matter which way you're looking at it, you'll see the light bounces back at you the same direction. So you'll see, like, if you had a phase conjugate mirror, your face would be reversed. It would be very difficult for you to relearn how to, like, touch your face. When you first look at your face in the mirror, you're trying to learn how to do it. You have to coordinate because your brain's backwards. So if you had a phase conjugate mirror, and you learned on a phase conjugate mirror, it would be much easier, and then it would be much harder to switch over to the reverse mirror. But a phase conjugate mirror, no matter which way you rotate it, it will always bounce back the same direction as the incident light angle is reflected on it. So you have a refractive index and this bounce, and it bounces at this reflection angle, and in a phase conjugate mirror, it bounces directly back at you no matter which way you rotate it. So basically, if you were to shine a powerful laser at this thing, it would bounce it directly back into your device and fry your laser beam. So there goes a couple $100,000 piece of equipment. The U.S. Navy probably would not want to shine one of their lasers at a UFO, because if it's a real alien spacecraft, it could have that phase conjugate mirror, and it would blow out the laser, because it would reflect it back at it directly. Or they could just be like the Ball of Los Angeles, and everything shines through it or illuminates it on the surface, but doesn't actually penetrate it through this black hole type of quantum situation that's created on the surface of the craft. But anyways, we got Bernard. Hey, we got Canada tuning in.
We got Canada in here.
Canada
in the house. I'm just taking a moment to set up. I'm setting up a second StreamYard from your account to mirror this stream to see if we can actually get it on 6 channels. And I'm going to be trying to connect my Odyssey, Rumble, and whatnot, mirroring the stream. through
How
it.
far
So,
are you right now from the crash site?
oh God, probably as far as you are from me in Western Canada to the East Coast.
Damn.
Yeah,
Canada's
I'm pretty
huge.
much like on the border, like about 100 miles from Montana.
Is there a lot of snow up there, eh?
Here we go. I'll show you right now, eh? It's actually been a really warm winter, eh? Like it was cold in December, but January and February, it was it's been above 0 Celsius. Like it's not much snow. Usually it's about 6-7 feet tall, and like I'd already have a frost beard on by now, just stepping
Yeah.
outside. But
Yeah, I haven't had to burn a lot of firewood this winter.
no, we're lucky, eh? They saved us, unlike Europe there.
Even though
I'll hop
is
back in a
tired,
minute.
AF already got to go to work later on soon. Me just could not go to sleep without catching your latest take on all of this, plus some bucks to support your work, buddy. Or some beers. You're a hero. Grube from Deutschland. Ah, some Deutschland. I got some Deutschmarks. Thank you for the Deutschmarks, my
Isn't
friend.
that great? Like, as much as YouTube sucks for censoring, it also still is pretty freaking awesome in how it connects everybody and all of us across the world.
Well, you know, if you're tuned into this stuff, then you're tuned in. And I know that a lot of people like tuned in long ago and then tuned out. And when this kind of event happens, they like come back. A lot of people have just been like, look, I didn't want anyone else's take. I just wanted to have you break it all down and tell us what's going on. And I appreciate that.
You're
guys.
a legend. You've been doing it forever. Like
Just
15 years at
rely on
least.
being the only source, because I rely on you guys just as much as you rely on me. And you know, it's a team community of trying to get the best information available and make important decisions. You know, I made the joke, my stream is that the Pentagon shoots down a UFO for choosing Canada over US for first contact, because, you know, Canada, how many countries has Canada invaded in the past, you know, 100 years?
Everyone that the U.S. invaded just 1 week afterwards.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it is. It's kind of well, it's kind of like that. Yeah, I guess they have.
Are your subservient state.
Yeah, this is. I guess yeah, I got a good point there, but technically they don't actually go to war with anyone. They just send in support troops. You know, so it's very political, and it's a good job to get going there.
Actually, now that you brought that up, this has stuck with me since Trudeau first got elected. I remember that on his like the night he got elected, he actually tried pulling Canada's forces out of Iraq, and he brought back all of our warplanes and was trying to pull all of the army out. The next day, he got summoned to Malta and was forced to fly to Malta, of all places, where, you know, those Maltese knights that run the Vatican, I guess, are from. But he went there as his first foreign trip. 1 day in, came back a day later, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, no, we're sending more troops to Iraq. You know, it was strange.
Yeah, it's funny how all that works, man. It's just like it's one big mafia, really, I guess, man. But anyways, let's talk about this. If this thing was a real UFO, number one, they would not have been able to shoot it down. All right, they would not have, you know, they would have been chased. This thing would have done circles around our Sidewinder missiles. You know,
it would have phase shifted away from it.
Yes,
essentially,
would have teleported, you know, or accelerated at, you know, a higher velocity than any of these things. Really, yeah, it's not going to be shot down. So that's number one. Number two, if somehow they had, you know, their gamma razor and they shot this thing while it was, you know, low on fuel and they couldn't put up the force field in time, right? Let's just say they did manage to shoot down something, or something did crash, right? Then they would have released 4 balloons to cover it up. You know what I mean? They would, and this in Canada, you said this is as far away from you up in the Northern Territory as you are from me up here over all the way on the East Coast of the United States. So this is remote as you can get, man. I mean,
literally, exactly.
There,
like,
I don't know.
As remote. It's like it wasn't. It was, I believe, off the coast of the Yukon, or like just close to, like on the border of the Yukon, which it's like that's like closer to the North Pole than any major city in North America.
It's funny is they're still calling them UFOs, and they're not like telling the truth about it. It's like we know at least 2 of them are or one of them was confirmed as a Chinese spy balloon or spy drone or some kind. But to keep calling it a UFO, it's like it's obvious that they're prolonging this and trying to get some.
Oh yeah, ratchet up as much China tension as possible to be like, oh, don't look at my son's laptop and all the hundreds of millions.
It's multiple. So it's also a big distraction from that chemical spill out in Ohio.
Yeah, one of the worst ecological disasters of our time, supposedly, I was reading up on today, and not a word about it in the mainstream. Just these UFO, UAP weather balloons.
Oh, we got it on Newsweek, actually. It is in some of the mainstream media. The impact concerned. Yeah, impact.
But how long ago did this happen? Like, it's been going on for a little while now, hasn't it? This huge, like, it was burning for days or something, and like it's just making the news now.
What is it? What kind of chemical? Ethyl hexyl acrylate? Ooh, what the heck? Vinyl chloride?
Right? Like,
acrylate?
Look at that.
This is going to make PCBs and dioxin. Yeah, like, and benzene. And lots of benzene. So
yeah, you breathe that smoke in, you're probably gonna die on pretty close to the spot, or
nasty crap,
in a couple of years. Just being around that's like
yeah, this is a disaster, guys.
Yeah, literally, like one of the worst.
Oh wow, look at that. Oh, that is just horrible. I would be like, I just have my gas mask on, and I would be put a plastic up. I don't even know.
Yeah, there was Wally's saying there were animals dying at nearby farms. I believe it. Like that toxic of chemicals burning. Like that is acid. Like there'll probably be acid rain around there, or acidic snow, like for years, probably. Like,
well, I mean, it just goes right out, but it's like they did when they blasted the atomic bomb tests at the nuclear test site, right? Studies, right? So you can look up the nuclear fallout studies and the infographic that they'd done from these. So they blast these huge megaton atomic tests, and they would send tons of atomic fallout up into the atmosphere, just like the Fukushima reactor in Daiichi is leaking all that stuff into the ocean, and it just makes its way across. So all your Alaskan king crab and all our seafood just got super contaminated.
Accumulating more and more.
So the FDA just was like, all right, we're just going to up the recommended dosage so that, we can, because otherwise it's going to shut down all the fish farms, and the fish industry is just
right. Like, that's a really good point. I remember that being discussed like a couple years after Fukushima and whatnot. It would be interesting. We need to do a follow-up like investigation into that, of looking at what those original levels were like tolerated at, and then try and go and get some samples and see what it's now. And they'd probably be like, you will die if you eat this. And like everything in the wild will test to at least that level.
Oh, this is a cool graphic showing the different
The Tsar
sizes
on the right.
Yeah, it's Tsar Bomba. That was the biggest one ever detonated, and they were just like, nah, all right, you guys win. You know, it's like Russia and
like, okay, you're gonna take out 10% of the U.S. population if you drop that anywhere within
61. What the heck, dude? Yeah, it was 10 years after Castle Bravo.
Right, like look at how much taller that goes up. How far up did that Bomba cloud go, the mushroom cloud, compared to like the largest Earth or volcano cloud in plumes?
Over 200,000 feet. And then there was the Starfish, right? This was the Starfish one where they did one in like space.
Really? What? Was that one like recently declassified or something? I don't remember ever being taught about one in space. I remember my Canadian government telling me that they rejected that the UN, or was it done in Antarctica?
Starfish Prime. And
was that the one in Antarctica that they...
I think it was actually up over the dead middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, but like by the Bikini Island or whatever? Maybe somewhere around there.
Yeah, they did the H-bomb test in not Bikini Atoll, Enwok Atoll. And but this is something different. And
they actually did one in the what?
Yeah, Starfish Prime, and it was a high-altitude nuclear test conducted by the United States in a joint effort of the Atomic Energy Commission and Defense Atomic Support Agency. It was launched from Johnston Atoll. Okay, so they got a space center on Johnston Atoll too, where they launch a lot of top secret tests and stuff from during the 60s. So it's been brought up in other UFO.
Where's that compared? That's got to be on the opposite side then of where Diego Garcia is, because that's also one of their secret sites, right? They can do space launches, or that was landings.
Hawaii, it's not like Fiji and Cook Islands and all that. It's not that like that far out, like Guam.
Gotcha.
But it's
that's crazy.
Yeah, the Starfish Prime, and they could see it over Hawaii. This was like the people in Hawaii were taking pictures of the.
When was this?
1962. Really?
Man, I swear, like the Canadian educational system, it's imprinted in my brain that we were taught that they never did any in the atmosphere because it was too risky. Like we were told that in school as kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tsar Bomba, you seen it went into the upper atmosphere.
Oh yeah, it went way up into the upper atmosphere, but
feet, and this explosion took place at an altitude of 250 miles.
That's like halfway into space.
Above a point 19 miles southwest of Johnston Atoll. So a yield of 1.4 megatons. Explosion was about 10 degrees above the horizon as seen from Hawaii at 11 p.m. Hawaiian time. Okay. 250 miles. So what's that in feet?
250. Oh, feet. Sorry, I was thinking you're saying meters. You're asking kilometers.
Wow, so that's a million feet higher than the Tsar Bomba reached. Over higher than Tsar Bomba was.
Yeah, like that's
so. Like
that's gonna rain on everything. Rain down on everything, eh?
way, man. That's what it says. 250 miles altitude. 250 miles up.
That's nuts. Like we've got a rate. Yeah, we essentially it's probably still raining radiation down on us a lot less, but still probably from that day.
Were there any satellites or like anything nearby? I mean, this might have had like a multi-purpose.
Yeah, in the 60s. The shock wave, the EMP wave that would have gone through it, it would have wiped out all satellites at that point.
Yeah. Damn. So after effects. Energetic beta particles followed the Earth's magnetic field and illuminated the sky. Other high-energy electrons became trapped and formed radiation belts around the Earth. There was much uncertainty and debate about the composition, magnitude, and potential adverse effects from the trapped radiation after the detonation. The weaponeers became quite worried that when 3 satellites in low Earth orbit were disabled, these included the track and transit 4B. The half-life of the energetic electrons was only a few days. At the time, it was not known that solar and cosmic particle fluxes varied by a factor of 10, and energies could exceed 1 megavolt or 0.16 picojoules. In the months that followed, these man-made radiation belts eventually caused 6 or more satellites to fail, and as radiation damaged their solar arrays or electronics, including the first commercial relay communication satellites, Telestar, as well as the United Kingdom's first satellite, Ariel 1, detectors on Telestar track engine and Ariel 1 were used to measure distribution of the radiation produced by the tests. But I don't know. So were there any classified Russian satellites that were taken out by this that we don't know about? Because that just
most likely,
those wouldn't have been reported. These ones, would. Casualties of war. Sorry, we can afford to pay them a couple $1 million to pay for their satellites as long as we took out the Kennan. What's it? The Kennan satellite. You heard of the Kennan spy satellite?
What is that from the 60s too, or 70s? 60s, I guess it would have to have been at the same time.
It's one of
the very first
76. So no, 76 NRO
would have been way out. Yeah, it's a decade and a half after.
When they were launching these Hubble, it had like a sister telescope, and then like both of them were equipped with this big gyroscope that they could just flip the gyroscope and actually the thing could turn around to take pictures of the Earth.
Go back to Earth.
So, because
right, and
isn't it just?
But there was a second one that we've not really heard about ever since, have we?
Yeah, it's like Canon. It was like almost a clone of the some of these. They're actually like better than some of these other satellites too. Like the NSA spy satellites, people have no idea what they have now. I mean, this was 76, so I know they have a bunch of these spy satellites that can. One of them said they could read the Marlboro on your cigarette, on a clear day.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. Man, just to think about that, that's absolutely crazy. Did you see Tim Ventura's most recent upload a couple hours ago there? He is interviewing one of the Navy guys that was involved with the Tic Tacs or something along that lines. It was pretty good.
And he interviewed Patrick Hughes yesterday to talk about the Nimitz encounters. So
right. Maybe play 5 or 6 minutes of this at the beginning there. Tim covers some really good points on the reporting of a couple of those UAPs that were taken down and why they're UAPs, or why he's still referring to them as UAP.
Yeah, let me entire screen. No, I want to share this tab so we can get the audio. Yeah, let's get this audio going.
Investigative filmmaker and retired U.S. Navy Chief Master at Arms. He served on various vessels and duty stations abroad. Most notably, he was part of the bridge crew on board the USS Princeton during the infamous Tic Tac UAP incident in the USS Unit in 2004. He joined today to discuss the emerging story of 4 unidentified flying objects shot down over the U.S. last week. So, Sean, welcome back. It has been a weird week. Folks in the audience, just to preface this, folks in the audience have been asking me what I think of this story, and they have been asking me to ask you what you think. So I need aspirin. That's where I'm at. Where are you at?
I'm in about the same place. Yeah, there's questions and inquiry coming from 100 directions, with very different intent behind them around this subject. So there's a lot of things in the air at the moment. No pun intended. So.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good point, right? Like when you have something that's mysterious like this, everyone tries to fit it into their own narrative, you know? So I'm sure that like people in the UFO community are trying to say, okay, well, this is an unidentified, alien artifact. And of course, the defense community is looking at this in terms of, Chinese surveillance, and who knows what the actual story is. But, I have been going through, and I sent these to you beforehand. I've been going through and taking notes. I've probably got about 20 different news stories that I've looked at. So this all started with a high altitude Chinese balloon that was shot down last Saturday. That's a week and a couple days ago off the coast of South Carolina. It traveled across the United States. Since then, a second object was shot down just last Friday over Alaska at about 40,000 feet. Another object was shot down at around 40,000 feet over the Yukon on Saturday. And a fourth object was shot down at only 20,000 feet over Lake Huron on Sunday. CNN quoted an anonymous national security spokesperson as saying these objects did not closely resemble and were much smaller than the PRC balloon, and we will not definitively characterize them until we can recover the debris, which we're working on. Politico reported that the object shot down on Friday was reportedly cylindrical in shape and roughly the size of a small car, and also not maneuverable. And I think that's about all they've said. It appeared to also lack surveillance equipment. Canada's defense minister said that the one shot down over the Yukon was also small and cylindrical, and then the one over Lake Huron was octagonal in structure, and that reportedly had strings hanging off of it, but no payload. So let me go to you on these.
Octagonal on the Great Lake.
One over Alaska, and then the one over Yukon. These kind of resemble the Tic Tac in their description, right? They're cylindrical, they're elongated.
I'd say on that data point, that one descriptor, yes, but I would need to know the angle of attack of the cylinder. What was its orientation? If I've got pilots that can make a determination that it was non-maneuverable, is that only based on the idea that there were no obvious means of propulsion? Or was it just based on the fact that it remained stationary or seemed to move with the air currents? There's a lot of data points that are missing for us at home. We've got the sensational headline portion. We've got unidentified objects in American and allied airspace, undetected for a long period of time or unreported to the public. But as we were finding out, as this develops, this has been going on for quite a while. We've had numerous balloon incidents like this that were tracked, just not disclosed to the public. I would say that when they're definitive balloons, whether weather balloons, Chinese surveillance balloons, or God forbid, test beds for EMP weapons, as some have wondered, that's one thing completely separate. Those are identified and identifiable, and they're following proper tracks. I'm curious at a cylinder. A cylinder is not a good way to make a balloon unless you have counterweights, propulsion, different ballasting, and the means to monitor and make those changes, because that shape doesn't want to lay on its side. A Tic Tac filled with helium or hydrogen is not naturally going to float in a horizontal manner. It's going to need to be forced down into that orientation based on the way that buoyancy works. So if we were to find out that they were horizontally oriented without any means of ballast or propulsion, I'd be very interested as someone who studies UAP in the case. Across the board, I'm interested from a national security aspect, because the question, while I'm not a fan of this question with UAP, why now? Why are we suddenly seeing these? Why are they? We know that they're not novel immediately. They just haven't been reported to us. So are we looking at something that is a question of just a different administration that has a different interest in reporting different things for political reasons based on Ukraine and mounting tensions, et cetera? Or are we looking at something that is more akin to maybe filters have been taken off at NORAD or somewhere else in accordance with something like Arrow, and now we're suddenly looking farther down the spectrum at objects we weren't looking at before, at the loitering clutter on the radar, or low, slow flyers that don't appear to be threats of some kind. There's a lot of information we're missing, and so a lot of people are conflating UAP to already identified shot down balloons, tracked surveillance equipment. But this is indicating to us that we have a hole in our frontier, so to speak, and that little scale there where these balloons are fit perfectly in to the scale where we find UAP. So if this is a question of national security, we're looking at holes in our fence. And if this is a question of the presence of something more esoteric, well, we seem to have found a way to detect it. Why are we immediately shooting these things down if they're not identified?
Yeah. Well, and those are excellent points. You broached a lot of big topics there, and going to the idea that these things aren't new, and this is off my questions list, but I had an email 2 days ago from someone who was asking for Kevin Day's email, right? And I said to him, well, let me forward something, who are you? And so the person started to write. He'd said he was a radar operator in the military, and he described what Kevin had seen. And he said, I was working at a stateside station on the coast, and he said, we saw these things go down the coast all the time on our radar. So to what you said, this isn't new, right? Maybe filters have just been removed. And I mean, there are rumors of this that go back decades, right? These anomalies on radar that just get ignored because they're not causing any trouble. They don't seem to be an immediate threat. So,
yeah, I think we've all seen, the Friday night mysterious TV show, talking about the radar operators tracking things over and over again. We've seen it. We've been watching it for the last 30 years on television as an aspect of entertainment. And whether it's that or the rumor mill coming out of the military or from radar operators, like you said, or when I talk to the sonar techs who say that it's just as busy underwater and we just shrug it off and don't log it. Well, if we're logging it now, if the time has come that we're going to pay attention and the people are going to find out about it, I think what I would say is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is one of those where people have to check their outrage for a minute and say, wait a second, you knew? Yes, come on. Of course they knew. It's just there doesn't seem any way to rip this Band-Aid off easily.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good point. So in terms of the Alaska anomaly, this object in Alaska, both the open source intelligence monitor and CNN leaked briefing details from F-22 pilots who tracked the aircraft, and they had said that it interfered with their sensors and they could see no propulsion systems on the aircraft, not knowing how it could possibly be staying in the air. And I'm quoting that obviously because it's kind of headline English, not proper grammar. But so the interfering with their sensors is interesting. Now, and again, I believe this is one of the cylinders. If there was something on it, some kind of a surveillance payload, maybe that could interfere with an F-22, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's some kind of an alien artifact, but it is interesting. It's interesting that it would do that.
Well, we have definitively seen prosaic balloons carrying what our government has claimed after salvaging them in international, properly in the water and checking them out, that these were signals intelligence collection platforms.
Yeah.
Now, so we know what those look like, at least in that mark, make, and model from the Chinese. Even if they say it's a weather balloon, our folks say that's not the data collection devices that were on board. Are we now looking at something that is more akin to an EMP, radar jamming, some kind of, a non-passive, an active system? Is that what they encountered? I find it really intriguing because I put a great deal of stake behind what these pilots are saying. I know they're professionals. I know they're trained to observe highly detailed things in a very dynamic environment. I trust what they're seeing and what they say about it. So if they say it was not maneuverable, it was low altitude, they can't figure out how it was in the air, that's telling me that they ruled out that it was a balloon, because any one of us would look at something that's in the air without those things and say, well, it must be a balloon of some kind. So what did it look like that made it sure to them? And where's the gun camera footage of this that makes it obvious it's not a balloon? And then we'll crowbar that one out into UAP, and it should be studied as such, because these UAP and foreign adversaries are that technology is now starting to bump into each other as we get more advanced into 5th generational technologies and things like that. And that's an assumption I'm making, but I think it's a rather obvious one. So it's going to be harder to be distinctive between those two things on the battlefield as time goes forward.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned altitudes. So I did some research on this. So according to USA Today, and this is common knowledge, the common cruising altitude for most commercial airlines is 33,000 to 42,000 feet, roundabouts. Weather balloons, when they're released, and I saw a bunch of photos of these, and these actually look like, when they do, apparently there are something like 90 or 100 weather balloons released every day. But these just look like oversized party balloons, right? They're round, they have a single person holding them. They're not that large. They have a radio sonde attached to them. They travel up to 100,000 feet in the air, and they basically go up much faster than they move sideways. And again, the objects that we're talking about here were at around 40,000 feet, which is probably the reason why the government officials cited a potential risk to civilian aviation as the reason to shoot these things down, as well as the surveillance potential. Now, another thing that I looked up was when the original reports came out, they'd said, nope, this is a surveillance device. And I said, well, wait a minute. The Chinese are saying this is a weather balloon. So Politico quoted an unnamed senior State Department official who said they had high-res imagery from U-2 flybys that revealed that the initial balloon, the one from China, was capable of conducting signals intelligence collection, and the equipment aboard it was inconsistent with what they would see in a weather balloon. So I guess that was how they made that determination, right? But again, it's interesting that Chinese balloon, it doesn't resemble a Tic Tac. And from the media reports, it doesn't resemble these 3 other reported objects. And so one of the things that occurred to me was, it seems like it's fair to say that if the Chinese were going to spy on us, now we know how they would do it and what it would look like. And that's not what you encountered on the Princeton, right? And that's not these objects in Alaska or over the Yukon.
You're absolutely correct. Our personnel on the scene, our professionals on board USS Princeton and USS Nimitz were able to determine very early that this was not a balloon or seagulls or other chaff or things like that once we had all the data in. And so, no, it's assuredly not what we encountered on Princeton. And I would say, secondly, let's back up a minute and say, we know the Chinese are going to spy on us, and that this is one of the many means of which they would do so. And I think it's interesting, if it's passive spying, doing nothing more or less obtrusive than a satellite might, then perhaps you would want to let it go so you can witness the capabilities of the platform. If it's not a threat, you're going to watch it as long as you need to. You're not going to shoot it down until you have to. And then when you do so, you're going to do it in a manner that sends a message. I'm still trying to figure out the message of using a $40 million Sidewinder to shoot down a balloon, but especially if you want to recover the debris. but I wasn't the one making that decision. I'm far more concerned, as I said, on the national security front, that one day our technicians at NORAD are going to look over the top of their coffee cup and see 1,000 Chinese lanterns with EMP devices coming over the horizon. And if that capability to sneak in under the radar like that literally exists, that frightens me. I hope we are removing the checks and the filters to find these things, even if it makes folks jobs harder and suddenly UAP start popping up everywhere, which I have a feeling is kind of what we're seeing. Now, I'm not gonna go right to saying the octagonal and cylindrical objects we're talking about were UAP in a UFO classical sense, but as they are as yet unidentified, they have to remain in that bucket. And I think a lot of people are especially the folks that get a real visceral trigger from the UFO UAP subject. We should be far less concerned with the extraterrestrial aspect and just more concerned with identifying the things that are in our atmosphere, airspace, orbit, local area, etc. And ease off trying to make these binary distinctions about origin and pilots and things like that. We have so much to learn. And if it was easy over the last 70 years, they just would have told us everything they knew if it was simple.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. So General Glenn Van Herk at NORAD said that he hadn't ruled out extraterrestrial origin for the 3 airborne objects that were shot down. The initial balloon, we know that was made here, right, or made in China. Mm-hmm. But for these other 3, he didn't rule it out. He said he would let the intel community and counterintelligence community figure that out. I haven't ruled out anything. Now, so this goes to the rumor mill, I guess. I want to fast forward down again. I just put these notes in here. So I have a story here. It says the White House wants you to know that the flying objects Biden shot down weren't space aliens, right? So that's one. That's at least what they're
prove that. So like obviously it wasn't space aliens. Like we already knew that. We proved this earlier. For those of you just tuning in, we're watching Sean Cahill and Tim Ventura interview from 5 hours ago. So this is brand new. Please go to Tim Ventura's channel and subscribe to his channel. Please just go here and ring the bell so that you get the notifications. Tim's doing some amazing interviews and he's doing some real good coverage of all this, and he gets a lot more it's a lot more people than I do. So he gets a different crowd of people than I do. So he's a real cool, easygoing guy. So I just want you guys to go and subscribe to Tim Ventura, and also look up Alt Propulsion and APEC conference. Tim also runs the APEC conference and the Alt Propulsion channel, and consider subscribing to those as well. But yeah, we'll continue.
Oh my God, it is cold outside in Canada right now. Like the weather dropped probably at least 20 degrees. No, not 20, 15, 20 with wind chill. I bet easy, actually. Freaking cold. But Tim is absolutely amazing. That's why I rejoined to talk about Tim. And as soon as I get back inside, I will post his link in all of the live chats. And what we've got going on now, Jeremy, is I've got a second stream opened up, restreaming this. So it's now live on my other YouTube channel as well as live on Odyssey. And then we can start using it as a back room and inviting others on, and then continue it on afterwards.
Yeah, but you gotta get I gotta get like a multi-stream going. So I gotta do what you could do and set up a couple different computers and just stream to different platforms with each one of them.
Absolutely. As soon as I finish my smoke and freezing my arse off, I will be back inside. And so, yeah, I'm also going to go live on Twitch right now and Twitter. And you're actually already also live on Twitter, which, see, you're already doing what I'm doing. And we should hook up before this stream ends. You will also be hooked up live on your Facebook. And do you have a second, smaller YouTube channel under your name?
I do not really. I mean, I have like another channel, but I don't really, it's just whatever. It's just like
perfect. So it is you, and it's not an impostonator, and it's got about
less than 1,000 subscribers right now, and that is perfect because of the system I'm going to be setting up. Starting with, I'm launching the Weekend at Bernie's 48-hour stream on the weekend, where it's a bunch of mixed programming from around the world of already pre-streaming programs that are going to be.
Set something like that up and just show like
Oh,
some older content, because I got a lot.
We are exactly. You got it. See, and the older content is a key part of it, and that this weekend, because of Twitter actually, and it's saved on my second backup Twitter account. I believe it's got like only 50 subscribers, but it does have my original 48-hour video stream of the original 48-hour that I did, and it got my original Bernard Conkin YouTube channel taken down because someone used, I believe, whoever does those porn bots came in and exposed themselves on camera for 10 seconds 24 hours into this video, and then like kicked him out immediately, blocked him, continued on for another 24 hours, 18 hours, I think, of which I was passed out on a couch. And it was hilarious because Campbell kept coming back into the stream and like checking, and it was like there was still like 20 people like that had been watching from the beginning, still watching, and be like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, the dog came in about half hour ago, and just ridiculousness. But point being that it will be a replay video of that original stream, relaunching it again this weekend, and that the Sundays we're going to be doing an all day, like Mike with Faraday there and his batteries, Zatamoto. Myself, I'm going to be doing some coil windings and setting up some of the electrolysis experiments, and we'll be running ongoing tests throughout that 48 hours too, that you set up the live camera at the beginning, and then you keep it going and running throughout the whole time. And yeah, whole bunch of stuff. Tim, freaking epic. And I really do. Tim needs to have Kevin Day back on.
Yeah, he does. Let's we could play that back. I'm just checking out how far up this place is in Northwest Territory, Yukon. Yeah, that is pretty damn far. So to Vancouver, it's 1,127 miles, right? And
see, Vancouver's decently close to me. That's a 10-hour drive from Calgary, where I live, the West Coast.
And then if I were to fly in a plane, it's double that. It's 2,500 miles to Boston. So it's about a third.
So let's pull that up on. Can you pull that up on Google Earth right now, and like, let's look at this and check out the weather.
Yeah,
as well. I'm interested.
We'll get back to that thing. So yeah, so this is where I am here in Boston and Providence.
So the closest one to you is one over the Great Lakes, and according to Tim, it was an octagonal shape and had wires hanging down from it, apparently.
Yeah.
That could easily be an escaped Well,
it's interesting that people have said the cube within a sphere, but in the patent for that thing, for that cube within a sphere patent, you'll see the balloons. This balloon thing, it's actually not a cube. Cubes have four sides to a side. So this is an octagon. So when they say octagonal, is it an octagon? Octagonal?
Double pyramids.
or is it an you know, like an
Hypercube if it's a double. Right, these dimensions.
this is an octahedron. Sorry, this
There
is an
you go.
So
You
an
got it.
octagon is an 8-sided, you know, 2-dimensional shape, right?
Look at number 13 there. That's a fascinating place for a circle and a number.
So this is actually an octahedron. Did anybody say that in this chat? No, nobody got it. All right, cool.
Now we all got it, thanks to Jeremy.
It's an octagon, and I'm like, no, octagon's not right. So what's the difference between the 2-dimensional shape and the 3-dimensional shape? It's the hedron.
The inner or the outer? The
Yes.
inner octahedral.
This is an octahedron because actually a cube has the sides of squares, are all squares. So this is triangles on the side.
So that would be how you get the mathematics of the gyroscopic motions within the systems. As those move.
So the idea that these radar reflectors, the balloon was just to carry this thing up and see how it's tied to the inside of the balloon so that it can be, the radar reflector goes inside the balloon. And the later ones, you know, you see the Chinese releasing these things that just look like, let me find the pictures of them. Chinese releasing radar balloons. I think that's the key word you want to say. No.
Those look very...
Yeah, see these things? They actually have just an inflatable balloon, and then they dangle this radar reflector from the balloon. And that turned out to be a better setup than trying to, you know, float the radar reflector inside the balloon. But still, sometimes I think they do the ones with the clear balloon with the radar reflector inside it, just because it looks more suspicious and UFO like, I guess. I don't know, but there is a lot of high-tech balloon stuff, so I wanted to talk about this and get this in perspective, because what do you think about the idea of high-tech balloon stuff being mistaken for UFO technology by, you know, an unaware public, and then it being covered up and like kind of kept secret with this UFO
they're
thing?
trying to play off like it was the exact opposite. Like everybody could see this thing apparently with your naked eyes, right? Like you didn't even need binoculars while it was going over. Like it literally was like in the sky, visible across America, as it crossed America. And then all of a sudden there's all these other different shaped crazy ones being taken out randomly that we get no images of and just stories of, that just happen consecutively day after day after day all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is part of a chain of some kind of coordinated event, you know, and they might have been different types of aircraft or balloons that had different purposes, and they could have been different shaped balloons. So you think like, so this said an octagon shaped balloon, is that what he said?
I think this is just a psyop at this point.
Nobody, when we were talking about the shape of that balloon, right, nobody, you know, was just pointed out, oh, that's an octahedron right away. So it's, and I'm sure about, you know, probably maybe even half of you knew this because we talked about, like, you know, this kind of stuff before, but I just don't think that maybe when he said octagon shaped, he meant octahedron. Is that?
Oh, definitely. That would make sense. Like it's.
And when they said it's an octagon shape,
it's using Victor Schauberger principles, I think, of it, how it's spinning these vortexes within that closed system of the airs and pressure is what I was envisioning looking at all of that.
There's no picture of that, but say it is in fact an octagon, right? So this one was just sorry, I wanted just an octagon. So an octagon has 8 sides, and this would be, if say it's an array that you wanted to suspend from a balloon. So I built like each one of these out of trusses, carbon fiber trusses like that other system, and I just connected them in an octagon pattern instead of the dipole kind of arrangement that they had with the two things that were hanging from the one that they shot down over South Carolina, the first one that they shot down. So say that we had an array like this, and you put some sensors on each one of these going around. That would be these sort of laser scanners, because this is what was seen from the sky and photographed over Hawaii just yesterday.
What?
So
just yesterday.
So a spy satellite was doing. I don't know if this is. I think this might be a time. Like a long-term exposure. So this thing might have been the satellite been doing passes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Just that's a
sure
satellite going over, a balloon going over, and taking these beaming down, sensing
I
things.
don't have time. I don't have information on this photograph, but yeah, I would love to know the photographer, the location, the camera that was used, and the exposure, rates, because that would help a lot with understanding what we're looking at here. And it almost looks like a long-term exposure because of how faded out everything else is.
Is this American? Is this Chinese? Is it going like? But I had this thought that it was like, did they just catch a bunch of like random Chinese spy drones in Ukraine and then like bring them over and just be like, all right, let's like just release them all up and shoot them down in one day and give them a little testy. Who knows?
There's a video of this.
Just kidding. Simulated reality. It is all just a matrix of simulation. Yep, LARPing along.
Does it feel fake to you?
It I believe that a Chinese weather balloon / probably spy balloon that we probably send the same over blew out of the way and crossed America where everybody saw it, and then they shot it down, and we saw actual like Americans filming the F-22s going up, blowing it up, and be like, "That's my America." Did we see that for number 2, number 3, and supposedly number 4 now? Not at all. But the one that was over the Great Lakes, why was that not seen? Or was it? Like, how come there's no footage? That's like right in the middle of America and Canada.
You gotta know, like, number one, if it was a UFO, if it was an alien spaceship or a Bracewell probe, or one of these things.
Well, so here's the thing: the further north ones, maybe, and that according to Tim, that's the one that was of spherical shape, and the pilots recorded saying that the craft interacted with their sensors, and that like, right, like, so that, and that's way the F out there, like, who knows? But
Okay,
then
so bear with me for 1 minute. In the middle
I'm just saying that one alone. I'm saying, like, why didn't anybody see anything in the middle of Canada, America, Great Lakes?
Balloon raid. What was actually happening is that the aliens were coming down to prevent World War III from happening, and they went to
that,
the most
I believe,
nation and the most beloved leader on the planet to go meet with Mr. Trudeau in Canada, and the U.S. and violently shot the aliens down over Canadian territory, and now it's like World War IV. I mean, it's like 3 and 4 and 1, because
fourth dimensional.
Not only do we're starting war with the Chinese, we're now starting war with the damn aliens.
And blame Canada. Blame Canada comes down to
what, Canada. Yeah, that's it. It looks like I say AHEH. I thought it was this. This is the proper spelling. Dude,
This is only because of how far north I live geographically and nothing to do with political affiliations. It's because it's cold outside.
See, yeah, I know you had one. That's the thing. I wore it on purpose because I know these things. I know how it gets in Canada. It gets like sometimes we get that cold air that blows down here some of the time, so we get a taste of it every now and again.
Yeah, okay. So that is actually a thing. And I've noticed more and more over the last few years, the weather patterns, like this year has been extremely warm in Western Alberta and the West. Usually it's like -20, -30 degrees Celsius, like on average 3 out of 4 weeks of January and February. It's freaking horrible. Like one time in February listen to this. One time at the end of February,
talking about the planet's oceans boiling away. I don't want to. It's too depressing.
No, this is a new theory. This is like the winds, and that it's like extremely warm on one end, and then it's polar opposite cold on the other end, west to east, and that it's alternating back and forth. Like the east is freaking absolutely frozen this winter for extremely long periods of time, where it's not nearly like that, and the west is really warm. And then it's not like a slow transition over. It's just like boom, over like the period of a day, all of a sudden it switches. And it's
this is crazy because China is a growing nation, has massive energy needs right now. They were building 10 nuclear power plants, a whole system of nuclear power over there. And that was causing all kinds of concerns with the nuclear community because of like the Chinese's notorious safety record.
How many? Sorry, I have to pause. How many nuclear accidents has China had?
I don't know about accidents, but they've had their rate of industrial accidents in general is it's probably a lot higher than even what's reported, which is still and the Chinese have a habit of like they want to do everything themselves, so they try to they steal, copy, and they have absolutely no concern for international patent laws at all. And it's pretty funny. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat too. Anyways, China is planning to build 43 new coal power plants on top of the 1,000 plants they already have in operation. And so I guess there's a lot of needs in China, but there's a lot of worry about what we're doing to the atmosphere in the world, which is a real thing we should be concerned about, and future the mess that we're leaving for future generations is just the history
of a catastrophe that needs to reverse if we have any hope of not completely collapsing ourselves all over again. And how many times do you think humanity has wiped itself out or been wiped out by something?
The amount of natural disasters and spills, so environmental disasters, we talk about what happened in Ohio, right? And how it's not being reported.
What is going on there right now? Can we check, see the radar on that, fire or pollution?
There's something called Superfund sites, and it's interesting when you look this up because this is every time there's one of these events, there gets to be another point on this map. Okay. So what happened in Ohio is just is actually, the media is not reporting that, but they don't teach you this in school either, right? Because a lot of these things are right in your backyard, and especially if you live where I grew up, there's more of them than you can even realize. Like you realize, oh well, that place that we drive by, that's just this old factory that's all fenced off, and you can't go in there. Oh, that's that place.
My grandma told me about that one because it almost wiped them out at one point. I remember. The rest I did not know about. That's a lot of.
Yep. See, we're in the red, right? Yeah, we're in Massachusetts. Yeah, that's where I grew up, southeastern Mass. It's like hub central, all from there to Boston and everything. It's all like a giant super fun site, or just glue, old horse glue factories that burnt down. That was the one, a shoe glue factory, a shoe factory.
Okay, so it's not like these are fires as well, not necessarily all radiation or.
Well, it's just places where it's contaminated soil. An environmental disaster. It's basically, these are environmental disaster sites that are just like too expensive to clean up, so they just kind of cover them over and try to isolate them, and make sure the groundwater, they put plastic over them, so put them in pot. A lot of times they'll like go and clean everything up on the topsoil and put it in a big pile, and then put like tarps and stuff over it so that the water wash it into the ground soil and stuff
and
like
then
that.
cover it, and then like oh, that'd create even worse reactions ongoing afterwards.
These are super fun sites. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about with what happened in Ohio, because they don't teach you about that stuff at school, and what happened in Ohio. This chemical spill, all that goes into the ground, and who knows if they clean it up, and then it goes into the air too. It's all going into the air. So yeah, this is a massive disaster.
God, because I see that, and then I just thought, like, what about Ukraine's? Because it's like first you have Chernobyl, and then could not imagine with the war right now. Like, oh, we've got one really bad one. It's like,
Oh, that's pretty horrific, and I just can't believe like having to clean. You have to clean that up, and you'd have oh.
That looks like all of the movies where all of a sudden an alien or very mutated monsters come out of, and
it's like they have to just take all that soil and dig it up, put it in a big pile over here, and then disassemble all these trains, and then use that to cover the whole site, or reach these are all going to have to get cleaned up and then washed and sent to a recycling plant. That's I can't believe the work that's going to have to, how much I would charge as a contractor for a job like that. It's in the millions.
That's why I'm really fascinated about the potential of the polluting with the different monatomic stuff. We gotta have Bob Grenier on for you to talk to him about that stuff in depth.
Oh, so they gave out some money though for the people, because there's a bunch of people suing, of course. Yeah, it's not impacting the river. It's not going in the water supply. It looks like it's a pretty isolated area. Let's see if you can find. See if you can find that in the coordinates on Google Earth. It's in East Palestine, Ohio. Anyone from Ohio and knows the actual location of this, let me know. We can find it.
So why is it so bad? Like, it's just really, really toxic mixture of stuff.
Well, yeah, we read off what it was. It was
at the beginning, yeah.
It's a bunch of not ethylene, ethyl hexyl acrylate.
Yeah. Oh God, right? Like that's carcinogen stuff right there.
What the hell did they use ethyl hexyl acrylate for? You know. What do I need a tank? What do I need a train car full of hexyl ethyl acrylate? With a pleasant odor. Using toluene, so the properties, polymerizes easily. So
Polymer.
So what is it? It used for making polymers?
Interesting.
Modified by additives or stabilizers. So the electrolyte major base monomers for the preparation of acrylate adhesives.
We could be building some nice stones with that.
Acrylate adhesives. So what makes those specific? So this is again glue. This is like
some sort of mixture for
there's a super fun site that I looked up the street. And it was a glue factory that burned down. So this is like chemicals for making glue.
Oh.
Same kind of crap. Yeah, this is going in the soil forever. Oh, this is like terrible, bro. This is like the hazards of this stuff, and people like, I don't know who's. They're not paying people well enough to so like guys like depressed because he's like, my paycheck hasn't gone up with the price of eggs.
Polyvin chloride.
Ooh, I don't know what the heck is. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the groundwater table is what's really the issue,
right.
and then everything is poisoned. Just more glue.
It's like acrylics. Yeah, so it's acrylate. It's acrylic. It's acrylic glue. So like you know that you ever have that stuff for the girls use to make their nails and it's an acrylic adhesive that they glue those fake nails on. Look.
Oh my God, that is why this is the biggest catastrophe of North America. If the women of North America are not able to get their adhesive to get their eyelashes done, they are going to
they will not be able
to get their nails done and stuff. Oh man,
and it will be
absolute anarchy.
Oh my God, what are we going to do?
I already know, Amber. It'll just
be Jewish mothers everywhere freaking out.
Oh goodness!
Out their nails, you know it.
Just God, yes, Charlie. We have to have Charlie on. Charlie will be on this weekend, definitely at some time, and he's
all the frogs in that frog pond turned straight because the woman had such nice nails after the chemical spill. Jesus.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Yeah, no, we're just being stupid. All right. I try to make it entertaining, man, because you have to.
It is though. So I just why it just goes to propaganda. Why was that called so horrible if it's some glue stuff?
No, whatever.
If it's gonna polymerize, and just doesn't that mean it just reacts with what is the other chemical? I think limestone of some sort that it bonds with and has that chemical reaction, and then polymerizes and hardens. And
just mean it makes chain. It can form these chemical chains or bonds, easily. So it high temperature. It's a liquid, right? And it's malleable. It's malleable with plastic. So they take this base stuff, which is all the loose. It's just composite, all loose particles. Then they heat it up, and they injection mold it. This is how plastic polymers work. And they injection mold it, and it forms these bonds. When you cools back down from that heated state, it actually creates these chains really easily. Because the valence bonds are easily exchangeable or interchangeable on the polymer molecule.
I think it's called scoliola, maybe. It's a type of geopolymer reaction. Paul Cook goes in depth about it, but it's the geopolymer that they make the granite style materials out of.
Right. So yeah, this is true for any kind of like silicone will work silicon, sorry, will work the same pretty much as the carbon.
Jimmy Paul, this has been a while since I heard acid rain. Good to see you. Odin talking to me.
So the
Not
are very similar. Yeah, scoliosis. Yeah, well, if you carry enough granite on your back, you'll probably get scoliosis. I probably have it from all the freaking tile I carry. Crap. Anyways, the granite and the concrete and these polymers. Yeah. Well, I don't know about. I know, like, I've seen a power line fall on concrete, or with the damage that it can do to concrete. So let's look up a video
Really?
of power arcing through concrete, just so we can see.
Oh, right. I gotta
because you can actually arc welding is a real thing, and when you have a metal. When you have metal and you have like an arc where it creates a really high temperature spark, the temperature is so hot that it can melt the metal, and it's a method of welding. It's also used for refining metals and stuff. But where were we just going with this? The idea,
the train of it. Oops.
All right.
There we go. Sorry, I went to the wrong. Was on the wrong StreamYard page there for a second. We were talking about how the train.
Concrete. I wanted to see
So it was a train just full of those two materials, just this geopolymer stuff. It's a lot of glue.
But I want to see, like, because I know it does through asphalt, and some stones can actually melt and re-solidify, but it takes, in order to create a lot of these rocks and granite and stuff in nature, it requires very, very high pressure, like those when you have to create when they create the artificial diamonds.
So here's the difference between this technology and what makes this geopolymer so important is that it's a chemical reaction, that gives that essential heat energy reaction in that exchange of chemical reaction out of it, that it becomes metamorphic as opposed to sedimentary reaction with these nanomaterials. And then when you put in the ground up granite in with this stuff, it will bond with it. And especially with the limestone, it will bond with it and then solidify at a much harder, denser level than regular concrete. Or
interesting. Yeah, looking up like Roman concrete, and they made it from Vesuvius ash, which is very, very finely powdered.
It's all these nanos, the nanomaterials, these bonding agents within it.
Yeah.
I'll have to have Paul Cook on for you so he can go. We'll go and do a full episode on all his research and work.
We're doing a show tomorrow night with Zertis.
And Dutch Since. And Dutch, do you know Dutch likes work and stuff? All this earthquake forecasting and everything.
Oh my God! Forecasting, huh?
Jeremy, it's like a match made in heaven. Like you don't even know, like how much of a good time. That is your new best friend. Just an absolute genius, and the intelligence on him and technology and how to put this right, just what Dutch has come up with and the conversation you're gonna have. Come on, we're gonna break the internet,
So
just like it broke my brain.
There, like, did he like? You can go back and check his tweets, and he's like, "Yo, there's gonna be an earthquake, tomorrow."
So he does a daily, pretty much daily YouTube stream going over his forecast updates and a once a week overall forecast for the upcoming next week. And it's like this guy's got like a 96% accuracy. What?
I want to see him.
I don't know what that's. So isn't that hilarious? One of that has got to be done by like some sort of CIA. Like there's 0 pictures of Mike's face, and that we
got all the CIA agents, and we'll let them the whole agency have at him in the live chat, and people can ask their questions on Twitter.
Oh God, you don't even know. They cut off his power to his house 122 times it was up to now, trying to prevent him from streaming it's insane. Like, you don't know his story. Your mind is about to be blown tomorrow. You're gonna become best friends.
Well, I hope not too much, because I'm gonna have, if I gotta some of these guys, I'm just like,
he is on your level of.
I hope so, man. I just, I wait for the flat earthers and chemtrails.
He is not a woo-woo sort of guy. He is from.
You don't understand me, man. All right. Well, I don't know nothing about him, dude. If he's legit, I got some people. We got haters.
Have a great time. You're gonna absolutely love it.
Oh, hey, I got my haters too. And if I was just gonna listen to other people's opinions of people, I wouldn't. You probably wouldn't go for a guy like me, because I piss everybody off. Because
you're gonna love him. Yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
Yo, dude, should I call? I gotta call up the Solar Marshal.
Yeah. What's Dan up to?
Oh God, I'm gonna send him a link right now.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, shit. See, I am a Canadian stoner. I effed that one up. I was supposed to post the StreamYard link to the second stream that we had going and run it as a back room the entire time. And the next time for the Weekend at Bernie's 48-hour multi-stream that I'm doing, there'll be 2 StreamYard rooms going simultaneously. One's going to be like the back room, but it will also be you'll be able to a group of people having it live on their channels. Whoever joins in can also make it go live on theirs as well, and then the main room as well. Aliens are here yet? I think they've always been here, but maybe they're us. Maybe they think we're stupid. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Dutch though.
Paul Cook on.
Yeah, Paul as well, man. Paul is great. Paul goes a lot of megalithic exploring, cave exploring, on the ground.
Well, I judge the man by his information, and we'll take it one. I just
exactly. That's just hilarious that's up there. I think they maybe talked once, and I know they definitely don't have beef. That's what just makes me laugh so much about that. It's funny. And that picture is so old that he used that once as a profile 10 years ago, that like never put out a picture of him again.
I want more graphics editors to make like the.
Yes, so that's I'm glad you brought that up. You reminded me of some important things. I've been editing now more, and I'm also actually finally got myself some editing equipment, but extra editing to start doing the thumbnails properly and not the ghetto ass ones that I've been doing with ridiculously blurry stuff. Anywho, yes, I'm going to be putting a lot more time and work into those. Speaking of the devil, there's Solar Marsh. Post it. We should just open it right now.
I want the exact location of this this UFO that was shot down in Canada.
Yeah, No, how about the one over the Great Lakes? Like that. This is well. Did anybody see planes flying over and shooting the one down over the Great Lakes? That's what I would like to know. Because obviously nobody saw the other two or three that happened in Northwest.
Is this real? Is China really warning us of retaliation for shooting down their balloons?
Lake Huron. Thank you. So
all metallic balloon with a tethered payload below it. That's what they said that this one in Canada was. So, you know, they held out as long as possible to tell us it was a balloon. Like I said. Oh, look at Kirby insisting that it was not a political move. Yeah, right, dude. Oh, God, this is going to blow up in their face, dude. Hilarious.
Right at a time that Hunter Biden starts suing people for using the laptop stuff because it is his laptop.
What's that link? What's that StreamYard link you just posted?
Well, see, I did.
That's not the one to
do. No, that's the back room. So hold on, Dan. Hello. Yes.
Wow.
Now he should. Now, can you hear him now, Jeremy?
No. Oh, did you see this? White House press secretary.
No, there's a new link.
I'm gonna watch this. I'm gonna watch this.
New. Jeremy cannot.
Was this the full briefing? Yeah, this is it. All right, I'm gonna.
Yes, I can. Hold on one sec, Dan. I gotta send you another link.
White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity. With these recent takedowns, again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not. Would you tell us? I'm just, I loved E.T. the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there. I just wanted to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns.
I'm and that's at least what
They're
they're
just making fun of the community. It's so like stupid, dude, the way the media handles
Dan,
it.
rejoin with the link that Jeremy
I have a quote
posted
here
again.
from Dr. Mark Rodinger, who said the fact that the military could shoot down the object and that it wasn't doing crazy maneuvers makes it unlikely that it was extraterrestrial or super unusual. And he said, in the history of the UFO topic, we've never been successful in trying to shoot down a UFO, a real UFO. And by that he meant extraterrestrial craft. So yeah,
Staying away from the rumor mill on that one, and I mean, and even leaving Roswell and again,
Now we got
around that and aside, I can see where that would placate a mainstream audience with its wisdom. But the fact is that the Italians revealed to the ATIP program and to Luis Elizondo that they had managed to strike a UAP with depleted uranium rounds, and that UAP had then in turn fired on their aircraft. That was released during the Unidentified, I believe, at the end of season 1 on History Channel that we were.
The Italians hit a UAP?
Now, we don't have many other reports.
Never heard of that. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about
what
that.
What decade was that? What decade was that? When did they?
Said that was Lou Elizondo said that, or
said the Italians used their depleted uranium round.
that was the end of season 1, right? That was the end. That was about the Italians that had shot at that UFO. That
should be everywhere.
So this was
wasn't it
from
from
the last like 2 decades? Then probably, eh?
Has to be. They're calling it a UAP.
Well, they've just all changed.
Not cool
if
anymore.
we're talking media, they're using the term UAP. It's a government agent word. It's a government agent.
Notice how the White House had to make it a joke right away. They had to make the entire crowd laugh. It's not funny at all to me. This is not funny. It's been building up for a very long time. I hate it when they make a joke out of shooting the stuff down. Yes, they didn't need to use a $4 million round to take down a balloon, but that balloon was sucking up all kinds of signal information.
Right?
That's what that was all about.
But it's like
dangerous. There's a guy named Mike Glover who is a career Army 82nd Airborne guy who's a Ranger, and then he went to work for the CIA. If you look up Mike Glover and how he explains it, I can drop the video link in there. Man, he nails it. He's like, this is all about signal intelligence. This has nothing to do with them taking photographs. Everybody thinks that a satellite has to do with taking photographs. No. Alaska's got an incredible amount of military bases up there. Places like Montana and all them places that thing was flying all over the place at. It's nuclear warheads and stuff. And guess who gets all the intelligence for Russia? China absorbs all that, the intelligence, and Russia gets that information from them. So who are we 9 minutes away on the war clock from going to war with? Russia. Look at the war clock once right now, Jeremy. Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's at 9 minutes. It might have went down since then. I mean, it might have gotten closer. It might be at like 6 minutes. We're like an inch away from World War III, and people are just walking around, don't care. It's crazy.
There are a bunch of them that are, I think they're all equipped with that DRFM technology, the digital radio frequency memory, where they're recording all the RF and radio signals and keeping track of them.
It's about signals. That's why they're using a balloon.
No.
And it also makes us look like we could have just used like a $10 round to take that balloon down, but we wanted to show off.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like a $10 round. Like literally those F-22s, all of those jets have the freaking shot, like the machine gun at the front. What, like
I don't know about the Raptor.
5 bullets through would have just torn that balloon to shit. That would have cost what, $50 plus the gas up there.
Imagine the guy flying that thing for the National Guard. He was itching to just use that thing. And
see,
the F-22.
I want the dude that took the balloon up in the Red Bull and then parachuted out. I want him with the Stinger rocket to go up and fucking take
Jeremy
that thing
saw what
out.
I wrote. How ridiculous!
Red Bull will sponsor it.
Did you guys actually watch what the the questions that were asked at the White House the other day? They wanted to know if there was a guy in the They wanted to know if there was a guy in the balloon flying it around. And like I forget how high it was in the air. His head would have exploded. I mean, some of the questions those people asked made me think, man, we're doomed, man, when we get older. Oh my God. Remember,
Will
Jeremy, you saw you were on the
it
phone. I'm
to
just
get
like,
older. No, Seymour Hersh's freaking
they
publishment.
flew from China to here in the jet stream, man. I mean, come on.
they yeah, right? Like, exactly.
Cahill's like some kind of like, he's very intelligent, but he's also involved in he's making money off this whole thing. This has become a business for him. If you look it up, he's got yoga stuff and all kind of weird stuff going. He's getting paid out of all this. He's getting paid. He's very smart. I'll give it to him. I'm glad Tim had him on. I had no clue you guys had access to these people.
There's nothing wrong with getting paid.
No, I agree. There's nothing wrong with getting paid. You need to have
doing something good.
Ryan Graves saw the East Coast stuff. He didn't see any West Coast stuff. You got to understand something. Ryan Graves is the guy that was the cylinder or the sphere within a cube, which I'm not so sure it wasn't a balloon, but he claims the thing was flying all over the freaking place, man. So it couldn't be a balloon if it was doing that now, can it? No. I like the Tic Tac story. What do you guys believe on it? Let's talk
Which one was moving all over the place?
Ryan Graves is the East Coast guy. So I just find it very strange that all these vehicles. Here's the whole thing about the whole thing. You've got Norfolk, Virginia on the East Coast. You have on the West Coast. You have Jesus God, I only talk Coronado, California over there.
Yeah,
you also have Whidbey Island up there in Washington State. Thing is, don't you guys find it awful strange that this stuff keeps happening on the test waters of the Navy, on the test waters of the East Coast, Norfolk, Dam Neck? The SEALs are all there at each place. It's where the two main naval bases are in the United States. Then you go to Alaska. That's a totally different entity. It's like its own country. There's an incredible amount of stuff going on up there. We've got Army, Navy, all that stuff up there. Now, what's up there? What do they want to see? So you got to ask yourself something. Is the Tic Tac another country? Or is the Tic Tac us? Or is it aliens? What is it, guys? What Commander?
I think the projected laser.
If I take a laser pointer and I point that thing, right? I start pointing at Bernie. And I start pointing. Guess what I can do with that laser if I'm at a fixated point and I can make it look like it has a radar cross section at, let's say, 20 miles away. I can take and go, woo, like that, and point it straight up to the sky in a second. And it'll make it look like it traveled that far into the sky in a second. I can also take it and make it look like it went in the water and it won't splash either. Now, the only thing that's strange is the disturbance in the water that it caused, the whitewash, because that's what supposedly caused it. Is that a byproduct?
I'm going to have to get off here.
Okay.
In a little bit here. I'm going to end the broadcast and we can just talk backstage. I don't know. I have to.
I know. We can do a show. We ought to do a show, man. Let's do it. I'm off work for another week.
And hold on. We'll end it on your channel, and I'll add my Rumble on, and we'll keep on going on there for a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna drop out though.
We're at the Alchemist. I'll come on with you, bro. I'm up for a while, man. Jeremy, are you really doing a show tomorrow night? Because by tomorrow night we should have more